A Merry Christmas tide to each and every one of you. Don't forget 12 days of the Christmas season. And thank you so much for all the well wishes. Yes, experiencing Christmas sick was certainly not pleasant, especially when it starts spreading throughout the rest of the family. But I'm back and ready to take on this sick, degenerating, cartelized system that we're all living under, but especially those in Arizona. As I'm sure you all know by now, the judge presiding over the Kari Lake election lawsuit threw out her case on Christmas Eve, putting on what was nothing less than a show trial, a sham trial that looked fair, but in the end was nothing more than kabuki theater. I think the Gateway Pundit put it best. They had the headline, Judge Peter Thompson rules elections with broken machines in 60% of precincts and no chain of custody for ballots are free, fair, and certifiable. Well, they're certainly certifiably insane. Again, as many of you know, Kari Lake's team showed first that Maricopa County officials broke chain of custody procedures, rendering hundreds of thousands of ballots as invalid. And secondly, Maricopa County officials misprinted Election Day ballots, causing mass delays on Election Day, which experts and legal witnesses testified cost Kari Lake the election. There's no way that anyone watching those proceedings could have come away with any other conclusion. Katie Hobbs' legal team was an absolute embarrassment. They didn't even deny any of that happened. They just claimed, well, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kari Lake's team got Maricopa County officials to admit that while they had a count on all mail-in ballots at the processing centers, they did not have an official count from the original locations where the ballots were dropped off as required by Arizona law. So the problem there is that between transporting ballots from location A, where they were originally dropped off, to location B, where they were counted, there is actually no chain of custody record. We have no objective basis to know that the amount of ballots at location A were the exact same amount of ballots at location B, and that by definition renders the ballots invalid, not because they were tampered with, but because they could have been. And again, the lawyer Robert Barnes tweeted this standard out the other day. Quote, Arizona law is clear. Even inadvertent errors in election require setting aside result if it casts outcome in doubt. Intentionality is not required when the error casts actual winner in doubt. So under Arizona law, Kari Lake is not required to show that anyone intended for these errors to happen. All you have to do is show is that such errors like the printing size discrepancies and the breaks in chain of custody happened, and it happened to enough ballots to throw the results of the election in doubt. And that's all that needs to be shown, and that is what was shown. And yet, because we now officially live in a cartelized system that's corrupt through and through, where every branch in government, from Duncey Ducey's governorship in Arizona to the Rhino Republican legislature there now to the court systems, they've all become instruments of protecting the permanent political class. But Kari isn't having it. Texas Republican Jonathan Strickland, I think, said it best about Kari Lake. The establishment mistakenly thinks they've delivered a death blow to Kari Lake. Little do they know, they've created a powerhouse who will lead a movement in Arizona that ensures their demise. Mrs. Lake doesn't know how to give up. Hashtag onward. That's right. Onward and upward she goes. You won't believe what she just said. You're going to absolutely love it. She is doubling down like never before. But first, click on that link below and protect yourself and your loved ones from this corrupt cartel by protecting your assets with the timeless value of gold and silver. As you know, patriots over the centuries have always relied on gold and silver to protect their assets during economic storms, and that is exactly where the amazing patriots over at Goldco come in. If you have $50,000 or more in an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you need to protect those assets from bumbling Biden's economic insanity with the timeless value of gold and silver. Click on that link below. Talk to our good friends over at Goldco. They're patriots just like us, and they want you to succeed so much, they're offering you up to $10,000 in free silver if you open up an account with them. But this is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Click on that link below or visit my special website, turleytalkslikesgold.com. On Christmas Day, Kari Lake's legal team tweeted out this gem, quote, "It's a fair bet some officials in Maricopa County got coal in their stockings this year. We've heard those pair nicely with perjury charges." Well. What the Kari Lake team appears to be getting at there is the apparent discrepant testimony by Maricopa County Election Director Scott Jarrett. On the first day of the trial, he denied that there were 19-inch ballot images printed on 20-inch paper, which appears to have been the source for the mass breakdown in getting the votes counted by machine tabulators on Election Day. However, after Kari Lake's team proved that that's exactly what happened, on the second day of the trial, he admitted that he knew about the size discrepancy between the ballot image and the paper. On the second day of the trial, he admitted that he knew about it, indeed, a few days after the election. And yet, these guys went ahead and certified it. They knew there were all these election problems, but they went ahead and certified the election anyway. I wonder why. So you got some discrepant testimony there, and that's where I think she's going. Kari Lake is going. Katie Hobbs, of course, is doing her best to exploit the gamed system to her advantage, threatening Kari Lake. But that's only strengthening Kari Lake's populist bona fides and only guaranteeing a mass recall effort that will plague Katie Hobbs' first months in office. In the meantime, it is, as I've noted, increasingly clear that we are living in the midst of a cartelized system run by a professional political and business class that care nothing whatsoever about anything apart from their own interests and their own concerns. Now, the technical term for this is what's called refeudalization. It's a term coined by Professor Joel Kotkin of Chapman University in California, and it refers to the various ways in which the structure of our globalist society is increasingly reflecting the kind of social structure that characterized the feudal Middle Ages. So, for example, today, like then, you have an astonishing concentration of wealth and power where very few people control pretty much everything. So 5 years ago, about 400 billionaires owned half of the world's assets. Today, it's just 100 billionaires. And by the way, China is basically the same. China, ironically, is now more unequal than the United States. So you have a tremendous concentration of wealth and power, like we saw with Sam Bankman-Fried, who, by the way, how's he doing today? Compare how he's doing to those involved in J6, and you could see for yourself how this refeudalization plays out in real time. He's part of the class of lords who operate according to their own rules and values. So you have this tremendous concentration of wealth and power. And secondly, we're seeing today a comparable kind of religious fundamentalism, as it were. But of course, the fundamentalism today isn't, the Roman Catholic Church. Today, it's all things woke: environment, gender, race. But the key here is that, like with the religious fundamentalism of the Middle Ages, there's no room for dissent. Dissenters are heretics. And instead of a clerical class enforcing the new dogma, it's a clerisy class, a class of pseudo-intellectuals from the universities and the professions, the credentialed class. And what we're seeing here is how big business and big government, billionaires and bureaucrats are teaming up together to create a singular system under which we all have to live whether we want to or not. And we're finding that system, we're finding out through the Twitter files, or we're finding out through Maricopa County corruption. We're finding that system is doing everything it possibly can to crush the democratically expressed will of tens of millions of people. And that's exactly the conclusion of this professor, Kotkin. He fully recognizes that refeudalization is indeed destroying the very fabric of democratic integrity. Our elections, as we're finding out more and more, are increasingly staged events where very powerful special interests have guaranteed the outcome. And the corrupt legacy media provides bought and paid for cover of this rampant corruption. Now, the good news is that this is not hiding anymore. This festering filth is losing the darkness of its cover with more and more light exposing it. Corruption corrupts, and like we saw historically with the Berlin Wall and the Soviet Union, the masses will eventually bring this corruption down. And Kari Lake will most certainly be there to celebrate. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and you'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Jordan Peterson leaving Joe Rogan absolutely speechless on the Bible. It's going to make your day, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.